was a terrific fellow. I didn't know Peter actually spent quite a bit of time with him, but he was a great fellow, wasn't he?
Absolutely super guy.
He was a gentleman, but he was very passionate. And I remember the night that we had the first meeting in the library to form the footy club. He was extremely passionate that we could not allow the St Joey's under-18s or junior sides to just go into oblivion. Alan Russell was a bit of a hothead at times, but he knew how to get things done. He was the businessman behind the show at that stage, because we started off with nothing. He provided a lot of financial support behind the scenes. I heard today he even bought the first lot of jumpers. The first club rooms that were ever built up there, the old ones that are gone now, him and a guy called Laurie Craven and Des Munday were the big drivers behind that. And I'm sure they put in a lot of money behind the scenes as well to get that done. So to see that, my worry was that the new rooms might be changed to something else, but to see them named after Alan Russell is so fitting, because he was the businessman behind the club starting off.
Well, Alan Russell was just an amazing man. An amazing man. He had so much vision.
First year, if we wanted to train after dark, you had half a dozen cars lined up around the oval with the headlights on. He donated a large tower to put lights on. We moved over to this side. He had at his expense, he moved the light tower over. Basically bus shelters, but Alan provided those, set them all up for the coaches to sit in.
Kenny was pretty gruff. He had many discussions with Alan about how things should happen. Alan always won, but Ken didn't always agree. But he was dedicated to making sure that we got the people on the ground, and it was fantastic.
As young people, he taught us how to be a little bit. We were going into an environment that was fairly aggressive in those days.
Clinton's place, it was creating a community. It really wasn't creating a footy club. It was creating a group of people that would get together and enjoy doing something that was good and wholesome.
Clinton Price just wrote the world. His handwriting was absolutely unique. The minutes of meetings that should be condensed to 10 minutes were 25 pages, because Clinton Price just wrote everything in longhand, and he wrote everything precisely. And if there was a question to be asked, it would be there in the minutes.
The thing that formed our club formed the demise of the YMCA, because they had to have senior teams. So YMCA decided, well, it's not worth, they didn't want to go on with it, and St Joseph's did, and so this is the ground that YMCA used to use, the under-18 team. So we just basically took that over, because as you said, it was only about a month's lead time to it, and the rooms were over on where the netball courts are now.
Got a phone call from Alan Russell, who was the president, or was going to be the president, and asked me if I'd coach the team, and I said, yeah, that'd be fine. And little did he expect me to turn up in football gear, but I did. I thought I was going to play. I was 35.
We had an exceptional coach and a very poor captain, but anyway, we continued on our merry way of trying to get people together, and it was just pull them off the streets, go through the Vertus, and away we go. And blokes that hadn't played for 2 or 3 years. I was playing reserves footy at Newtown, and this just wasn't going to happen. But it was the spirit of what had been done to the school, as in the blokes that played at the school were not allowed to play together anymore. So a few of us got together, along with the school, got out the vertices and started writing down names, making phone calls. And we went to the meeting and said, well, we'll put a senior side in. You can't. Well, you've got to buy, so yes, we will. And we went through and fought the arguments and listened to the players, and from there it was all good fun. Martin, wasn't it?
It was. It's a lot of fun, yeah.
I didn't really intend to play footy after I left school. I was sort of looking for a career and to do whatever presented itself. Obviously St Joseph's didn't exist.
That's right.
But when I heard that they were creating a club, I was enthusiastic to play if they had a team, and that's where it came from. I just turned up to training along with all the other 19, 20-year-olds from that were ex-St Joey's, and away we went.
Training in mud and turning on a few headlights on cars on the forward pocket near the Bluestone building to have a kick after it did a bit of training. It was an amazing era,
I didn't think we'd get to the first game, but somehow we rolled out there with a side of, enthusiastic kids and older veterans, and we played our guts out for the year for a good cause. We didn't have much success, but it wasn't through lack of trying.
I got up there in the rooms and I said, right, there's 3 things I want you to remember. Number 1, such and such. Number 2, such and such. Number 3, such and such. So then I made a fatal mistake. I got to the door and I turned around to the players and I said, right, remember those 3 things. Number 1, such and such. Number 2, such and such. And I'm buggered if I can think of the 3rd one.
And we didn't go by a set game plan, for want of a better word. We really didn't have the opportunity to have a set game plan.
He used to go up against some pretty big boys in those days, like Billy Cutsworth from Barwon, Frog Ritchie,
Froggy,
Billy Benson from North Shore. These were big boys, and Martin coming back to play footy and probably thought he could put his feet up and sort of compete against these guys on a weekly basis. It was a credit to you, Berkey.
The same configuration as the Scout Hall over here. They were ex-army huts and divided up into 4 rooms. St Peter's had the end, that end too, and we had this too. It was basically just 4 walls, a roof, very primitive shower, umpires' change rooms, and toilets were around the back, public toilets around the back.
Playing in a Bluestone building with 2 small rooms and then running out into a ground. That was the first amazing thing. The second thing was, we proved you wrong, we're here, and then you're giving us North Shore. Carl Ferguson, no brains, just a lunatic. Billy Benson, 10'6" tall, breaking up as soon as he saw you. So half these kids were actually shaking in their boots because they didn't know what to expect. They'd never been into the cauldron of that sort of stuff. So we got through it. A few unscathed and a few scathed. Fair amount of discussions with Ray Gurry, the umpire, over his ability to control the game and make the right decisions, but that was all part of it back in those days as well. And we lost by about 25 goals. We did kick 9, which really was a fantastic effort in our first game to kick 9 goals. But yeah, it was overpowering. But once we got over that first game, away we went. But it was very, very pleasing, particularly from a few of it, not so much from Adrian's point of view because he was on the playing side of it, but from the background of it, the forming of it, to actually be able to walk out and tell the Don Mathesons and the others of the world, well, here we are, because that just wasn't going to happen. And a lot of people did a lot of hard work. Very emotional day.
In the second year, we got Tony Matheson from St Mary's as coach, and he got an automatic clearance because coaches got automatic clearances. He wanted to bring Alan Collins, his mate, along, but St Mary's wouldn't clear him. They did ask for a cash amount of money, $750, totally illegal. We didn't have that money, but from memory, Bernie Buckley, an ex-St Mary's player, stumped up the money. So Collo came over.
We spoke about, I can remember, Zanoni, Paul Zanoni, was it? We sort of, we had it, had him earmarked, Matho said, look, give him a couple of hits and he won't go near the ball again, and we picked a couple of others and we had a tactic for the day.
Greg Anderson kicked a really long goal after the three-quarter time siren to put us 5 goals up.
Got onto a bit of a torpedo.
60 metres, I think. 65.
Well, something like that. But as I said, there was a gale blowing and it went through, which I sort of was after the siren, and they were just pegging us back and we were fighting. I do remember it was nerve-wracking out there.
Bugsy Elmer had a chance after the siren to level the game, draw the game, and he missed. And so we ended up with 5 points.
We had to win the first one, and as I said earlier, we had a great group of players, and the challenge is always to play your best on grand final day. And whilst we did well through the year, we got the double chance, but players win your premierships, and they were a great group.
Bernie actually bought Dave Broney in, he bought Mick Glynn, who were important people.
There was this whole group of young fellows all coming together under Bernie's leadership, Johnny Fitzgerald, Tony Harris, and Bernie also made sure he got enough tough guys to look after us, and Brad Lancaster was one of them. He was able to just put that little seed in your mind to say, well, that's what I need to do to help this side win. And he also was able to then talk to you after a game and let you know what you'd done right, or if you hadn't done something, he wouldn't bag you out in front of other people.
Bernie was a big part of our lives, and continued that for, on and off for the next 10 years. A great leader. We
had a terrific group of young players headed by John. People like John Nagle, Glenn Harris, but there was a terrific group of players there. We just needed a little bit of luck, and it came our way in '82.
Herbie Matthews took over as captain coach. He played with us in '83, and he was another great leader that we had.
Herbie was super professional with his footy and with the coaching, so the expectations around that, and that's why I think he had such great success with Corea, because he sort of had the discipline and they did the work.
We spoke about before the game started, not to panic, no matter what happens, whether you're 6 goals down in the first 10 minutes.
I remember the last home and away game out at North Geelong, and we smashed them by, I forget the score, but it was over 15, 20 goals. Baz Stoneham, as a 15, 16-year-old, kicked 5 goals on a half-forward flank. And I thought we were going to go to that grand final and just do it again, but we had to earn every kick.
North Geelong were brave, but I thought we had them.
No one folded from what they had to do and what have you, and we were lucky enough to sort of get over them in the second half.
We celebrated pretty well. I remember being here till midnight or so at the club rooms, and I think again, coming back to that St Joey's bonding and family and closeness, which all clubs would have, no doubt, but St Joey's was really tight and we're renowned for that, so I think we all celebrated pretty well. The older boys looked after him.
The club is really at the turning point for that in the next few years. We're either going to win that game and make a fist of being in the GFL, or we're going to lose that game and be a GDFL side forever. I think there's a lot of players, in particular over the next few years, the Dominic Pobberys and the Mark Hills and the Brad Furmans and the John Fitzgeralds, really stuck by the club probably 84, 85, 86, 87 to make sure they stayed in the GFL. And I think all credit to them, but all credit to the club. They're making a success of it now, so those hard years were all worth it. But I see 84 as a real turning point. If we didn't win that game, I think the club would be in GDFL, and it wouldn't be anywhere near the club it is today.
Very easily
Straight through the middle. 2 goals to Mark Marnie. And St Joseph's now 2-2-14.
Stoneham pinches that one. Pops it across. But Travascus has a sit, knocks it down. Collins has got the ball. A great little right foot snap for a goal to Alan Collins. A much needed goal to St Joseph.
Joseph through centre half forward position. Thurman. Cross to Podbury, who's kicked the ball and found young 15-year-old Barry Stoneham 15 to 20 metres out from goal, directly in the front. There's no trouble in bringing up St Joseph's fourth goal, a goal they badly need. Moves in. Much develation. A good goal by young Stoneham. St Joseph now 4-4-28. Tail North Roll.
No, he's running around in circles. He gets it across to Marshall Harris. Harris boots the ball down towards centre half forward, looking for Brad Furman. He can't take the mark. Podbury overruns the ball. He's regained possession. He'll have to get rid of it across to Glenn Harris. He breaks the tackle, drives it towards goal, and 1 goal Glenn Harris. Great work St Joseph's. Good metric wins. Rani fires, and that's a great goal. St Joseph's hits the front. They have 31 minutes gone in the last quarter. And there goes the siren. St Joseph's premiers for 1984. In a wonderful game of football, the final scores St Joseph's 15 goals 10, 100 points, defeated North Geelong 13-10, 88.
I certainly believe we can win the game. I think we're playing well at the right time of the year.
When I decided I wanted to coach, I probably initially thought I wanted to go back and coach St Mary's, where I played for 10 years. But once I got to St Joey's and got involved in the club, I just wanted those players, those group of players, to be playing GFL footy, because I knew they were, in my mind, they were good enough to win GFL.
Chris Doyle, as he just waltzes in point blank range, kicks his first goal for the afternoon.
Yeah, very good effort there from Nichols. Harris did everything right. He was right with his man and putting him under plenty of physical pressure, but Nichols, with that bit of strength, just broke clear at the crucial moment.
We're bottom in 87, or very close to it, and we went from the bottom to losing by just a couple of minutes in 88. So that would have been the fairy tale. Didn't quite get there, so there was a hell of a lot of drive for 89. And we got topped up with 3 or 4 more players.
Stephen Berry, Chris Doyle, 2 outstanding VFA players, and terrific people. They helped us.
Well, here's an opportunity for Chris Doyle. Great football.
Shocker.
Over the top to where Steve Nichols doesn't mind. Steve Nichols looks as though he's in a little bit of strife too in the goal square.
Dominate a little bit in this quarter. Chips the pass over the top. Here's Billy Mithen. He should go from there and does. Drills it right through the middle. Now the Joeys are pretty much on the march at the moment as Mithen kicks his second goal. They're knocked to ground and the shot for goal will be taken with more success this time. It's been drilled by Fitzgerald. A goal on the run.
We trained every Sunday morning after a game to make sure that we came to training on a Tuesday night, not saying we're still sore and beat up from the game.
I think it was the wettest year of footy I've ever played too. We were training at St Joey's College in the gym a fair bit, training everywhere but the oval because it rained so much it was a bog heap, and so it was very different.
Again, to the players, great credit, they accepted everything we wanted from them, and they played their best footy in the finals.
Zone, but only as far as Berry, who marks and runs on. Berry unleashes one from 50 out, and he's bombed it through. Another goal to the Joeys. Gathers on the left hand, gives it back to Russell on the overlap. Runs to the 50 as the siren sounds. He launches it goalward. It may score. It has scored. The umpire says all clear, and a goal right on the siren. What a great way to finish a season. St Joseph's are the premiers in the GFL. A running goal from a long way out by Darryl Russell, and really he did that superbly, carrying it from the defensive side of the centre wing to eventually bomb through the 18th goal for the grand final to St Joey's.
It's the first time we've had 2 both sides in the finals. We've had a lot of
under 18 sides in grand finals, but it's the first time we've had seniors and reserves, and there's a good feeling around the club. It makes a difference to train with the 40 guys that you've trained with all year.
I've been the boots around the place since we started. I did a little bit of coaching in the early years, took over as property steward, come team manager, whatever, and the last couple of years as runner for the seconds.
We were in discussions when the whole thing was first happening back at the college and the library and all the rest of it. And I said, what do you reckon? Oh, we should reckon this could be a bit of fun, DP. This could be real good fun. I reckon we'll have a go at this. So at that stage, he was at Bell Park, and having come back from Geelong under 19s, and they wouldn't clear him. And he said, well, that's all right. He said, plenty of other things I can do on Saturday afternoon. I'll go and mark the ground and I'll walk around. And I think it took about 7 weeks before Bell Park realised that he just wasn't going to play. He just was, and there was nothing else other than St Joey's Footy Club.
He was always a property steward, so we'd always come with the ground early. We have all the back of the reps car full of gear. Always put the old white Adidas bag in. I might be needed this Saturday. And more often than not in the reserves in those days, we're short on the bench. So he'd sit on the bench for a quarter, but they'd always bring him on and he'd try to do the big runs. He enjoyed doing anything that needed helping around the place, whether it was marking the lines with us at 6 o'clock in the morning, to bringing the gear to the ground, to playing, whatever it needed to be done, got done.
The Doc, and my brother and I were actually at the first game of the club. The Doc was the life member of St Peter's, and we went up to watch them play, and St Joe's would play on the oval next door, and Clinton Price, founding committee member, tapped the Doc on the shoulder and said, great to see us at the first game. So he turned around and started watching St Joey's and didn't miss the game for the next 16 years.
Here we are back at St Joseph's again, and it's with pleasure that I introduce you to two of the co-founding members of the St Joseph's Football Club, I believe in 1973. On my direct right we have got Dr John Appleford. Good evening, John.
Good evening.
And also on my far right we have got Bruno the Wog Nikolic.
Thank you. How are you, Ron?
Very well. It's a pleasure to have you gentlemen with the club tonight and on guest productions, because a lot of people are very, I would suggest, very admiring of you people, because I believe it's the first GFL grand final that this club is going to be participating in on Saturday. Is that correct?
That is not correct. Right. GFL grand final.
GFL. Now, Doctor, I'm not want to get patience now.
Sorry. Yeah, we did. We did play in the GFL grand final last year.
But we didn't sorry about that. Doctor, you're still very sharp, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I apologise. Premiers, I should have said, shouldn't I?
This will be the first year we're premiers, yes.
Okay.
They're a great combination. At some stage in between drinking too much, the Doc started being understandable and the Wog stopped being understandable. So Bruno would translate for the Doc early and the Doc would translate for Bruno later on. So it all seemed to work out pretty good, to be honest.